sometimes life happens, and in a gardener's case, the outdoors come and the inside plants begin to struggle. And today's video, I'm going to go over exactly how I'm going to recover this poor milk rhizome and bring it back to life despite its lack of leaves and deformed new growth. This actually is a really common appearance for alocasias, philodendrons, what else has, like there's so many that pothos that sometimes can have this, and there's two things really truly going on here. We have nodes that are bare of leaves that classically would have leaves, such as this one's down here, combined with a deformed new growth or a new growth that appears to be stuck inside of its casing. So two different issues. In this case, they're caused for the same reason, but we'll go over all the different reasons that this can happen and how you can treat your plant accordingly. So first off, you want to look for pests. This may seem obvious, but for some it may not be. This up here is called a cataphyll. And the cataphyll actually is a protecting sheath that goes around your new true leaf. And in some cases, if it is harboring pests, it can cause a deformed new leaf, which ultimately will not be able to push out of its encapsulating security blanket, and or cause just damage on that stem through things like sapsuckers, in particular like mealybugs, aphids, things of that nature. So it's always a good idea to first check for pests, and whenever in doubt, just treat your plants, whether it's biologically with things like predatory mites and nematodes or like an insecticidal soap. I personally like biologicals. I find them to be the most effective method for me, and so therefore you do want to treat them accordingly. Now this plant doesn't have pests, so that is out of the question, but for some of you that may be the case. Now the second thing to actually consider is humidity. Humidity can affect both the leaves on the nodes themselves and cause them to drop or to look weak. It also can cause this cataphyll or the casing to kind of keep that poor leaf enclosed and ultimately not allow it to escape its little sarcophagus. What are the mummies in? Anyways, so you want to increase the ambient humidity. I know in my case that my humidity is okay, along with my VPD, and I can thank the Earth One plant sensor for that. It was a sensor that I helped design on the plant science side of things, and this is a great way for me to determine what my humidity is and whether or not that is the issue. Now, oddly enough, we have run some tests with the sensor, and misting of your plant can temporarily increase the humidity of the microenvironment in which this plant is in. So if you were not in the business for purchasing a humidifier or a mister of some sort, you could actually just spray bottle it twice a day, and you'd be shocked how long that humidity stays in and around the microclimate of just this plant, not the other plants in the room, but just this plant. And that may be enough to actually get this to come undone. The other thing you could try would be a wet paper towel, a plastic bag with paper towel in it, putting it over top, and then allowing this last node kind of sit and hang out in that environment for a period of time, ultimately allowing it to eventually unravel. Now, the third thing that could be going on here is soil moisture or nutrients. So if we apply too much nitrogen fertilizer, for example, we can end up with really rapid growth, but that growth can also be inherently weak in nature, meaning it's very soft and very supple, and that soft, supple nature of that leaf high in nitrogen will not be able to push its way out of this little casing, along with the fact that it's more susceptible to pests. Now, on the other side of that is if we have water in our system, or we don't have enough water in our system, then the plant is constantly bouncing into growth, out of growth, into growth, out of growth. So having a continual water supply and not allowing the plant to dry out is very important. Now, I know you're probably thinking root rot, or all these other things are going through your head about harming the roots of your plant, but so long as you're in the happy medium or the Goldilocks zone that plants like to be in, which is around that 60 70 to 80%, sometimes as low as 30%, but again, not bone dry, also not completely saturated, your plant is in its happy zone, and therefore it's able to get oxygen, which prevents against root rot, but also get the nutrients and water it needs to ultimately propel this leaf through to the end. So making sure it has a continual water supply is very important, and that is why I am going to put the plant sensor into this pot, because I need to monitor the actual soil moisture levels, because when I went to pick this up for the video, it was definitely bone dry, and I swear to God, I just watered it like 2 days ago, which is telling me it needs to be repotted. But we're gonna put the plant sensor in first just to help me determine when that is, and I'll do a separate video to help you guys understand a little bit more of what that's telling us in regards to soil moisture. One thing I'm going to do to kind of bring this back to life is I am going to use that pH adjusted water, which is so important. Everything Plants, Jeff over at Everything Plants, he was having some growth issues, just lackluster growth, slow growth, deformed growth, and I told him just start using Root Farm. I use Root Farm, and that's what he ended up using too, because that's just what I told him to use. But he started adjusting the pH of his water before watering his plants. The guy is dedicated to houseplants, way more so than I am, and the growth he's seeing is just, it's unbelievable actually, because I've seen some videos and photos and stuff like that. It's all because he's adjusting the pH. So it's so important to have your water pH in line. I have a whole video on that, so go check that out if you want to learn more, but that will definitely help in this case, because this guy's just been getting tap water, and I know for a fact my tap water is at about an 8, which is less than ideal. So definitely keep that in mind. Okay, next thing that could be affecting the leaves here, as well as the leaf on top, but more so the leaves on the actual nodes themselves, is the fact that it lacks support. So he is not supported at all. He's just kind of free hanging. So I am going to give him a pole to climb up. This has been noted in studies for several years now, and that is a supported stem tends to give us more variegation, larger leaves, things of that nature. So the actual supporting of the plant itself helps not only give us healthy leaves, or just leaves in general, but helps us give us those leaves that we're trying to achieve as houseplant people, which are the big gorgeous ones. So the actual trellising of this bad boy is going to help a lot. Now, the reason why I know this plant is struggling is solely because I watched it struggle and did nothing about it, was lighting. This poor little plant was under intense light. So when I first got him, he was about this tall, and then I ignored him for a while, and then he became this tall. The entire time I did not adjust the light height, and therefore it had really intense light way too close to the leaves, which ultimately also gave these leaves down here a really drooped, almost like cupping under look, because it's trying to get away from the light. It's like, oh my god, we come from the same family, gingers and melicauris and philodendrons, apparently. We don't like sun. So that's what's going on here, even with these lower leaves looking kind of goofy. These ones up here just completely singed off, and this one's hanging out, and it's saying, I'm not leaving this little sheathing, because if I leave, I'm just gonna burn within days. So lighting is definitely the issue here. So what I'm going to do to change up the lighting with this plant is I'm going to use these lights given to me by SANSI. So there's two different ones they sent me. This one is the compact LED. This one is I'm going to actually put in my plant room. You guys have seen it on film all through winter, and I'm going to actually screw this into the top light and cascade it over to my plants. The idea there for having this light kind of projected this way is to force the plants back against the wall, because currently they're trying to lean towards the window, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. It makes it look goofy when I'm filming, because everything's like reaching at my back. So I want to try to force them backward, and the best way to get a plant to morphologically do what you want it to do is to give it the light it needs or intensify the sun to force it backwards. So in the case of that poor philodendron where everything's drooping down to get away from the light, if I put a light facing in particular this really compact LED here, I'm going to be able to force the plants backwards, which is exactly what I need in this case. But for that melicaurism, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use this bad boy. So he is going to hang, and the reason why I'm going to use this, see, I'm going to use this SANSI Light combined with this plant sensor, which is the Earth One plant monitor, and it has a light sensor on top. And the reason for that is because now I'm going to be able to tell exactly how much light this plant is getting, and this is adjustable, meaning I can adjust it higher or lower, or it's even on a stand, so I can do like more of a vertical light and adjust it as needed. I will be able to use this to tell me whether or not this is too high or too low, and that's exactly what I need right now, is something that I can adjust up and down, in particular with a plant that is going to be moving upwards mostly, or 99.9% of the time. I want to ensure I'm able to adjust the light with it. I won't be able to do that just because of the setup I have with that compound LED, but this bad boy I will be able to. It's suitable for like wet locations. This might just become a hydroponic one after. Just kidding. But yeah, so this is what I'm going to use in this case for him. If you want to follow along to see how the SANSI Light is doing combined with the Earth One monitor, that's going to help me to monitor everything from lighting, soil moisture, VPD, ambient humidity, you name it, then do that. I'm going to do an update on soil moisture in regards to this actual monitor here and how this monitor tells me how that works. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, go check out the monitor, and I'll leave the links down below for the SANSI Lights.